media kerfuffle that is discussing these pork producers and the beef producers, or not the producers, oh, no wonder. Waiting on a car. Small butcher shops and the small President Trump actually delete. It's, there's just furthermore, you can never go wrong with pan good. You can never go wrong with canned goods. Car coming. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Doctor of Disaster. Hit that button over there. Hello everyone, I am the Doctor of Disaster, Mark Warnick. I have a PhD in public safety, and I'm recognized as a subject matter expert for not one, but 2 universities. Well everyone, like I've said before, when the weather improves, we will be outside doing various things. Today I wanted to talk about the food shortages that the media is discussing. I'll be nice. So, as you probably have heard, they're all worried about food shortages. Well, I happen to know a little bit about food, etc. So just to give you an idea, I'm going to kind of pan and zoom so you can see where I live. And we'll just take a ride around so you can better understand this. Now, one of the issues that we have is that they claim there's a food shortage. There is no food shortage. There's plenty of food. In fact, farmers who have planted earlier are ready to harvest, and they're having to dump a load, and I do mean a load of food. It is absolutely crazy. As you can see, I live in rural America, and we've had a lot of rain here lately, but the crops that are in the field will be growing very shortly. They haven't gotten soybeans in, but a lot of them, well, it depends. It depends on everything going on. But next to us, no soybeans are in, but we have corn in. So what our issue is with food is in the processing. And, the processing part of this is quite, what do I want to say? It's tricky. By the way, I want to show you my grapevines. these are my grapevines, and there's my horseradish over there. So I do know a little bit about food. Anyway, where the problem lies is not in the food production. In fact, we've got farmers that are having to kill livestock that are ready to be butchered simply because they can't get anyone to process them. And, you know, in order to maintain them, what they've got to do is they've got to continue to feed them. And while it doesn't sound like much, if you have 100 or 300 or 500 head and they eat, let's say, 200 pounds a day, well, 200 pounds would be roughly $40 a day, 7 days a week, until the food processors are back in business. So what does that mean? It means that even if they're out for 2 weeks, there's going to be disinfection and there's going to be wind up, and then they're going to go with the people that are closest to the weights that they're looking for, especially in hogs and beef. So the issue then becomes essentially they have to schedule them. So the person may or may not ever be called up for that beef. Well, they've tried selling them one at a time, some have, and because everyone's out of work, there you go. So how can we mitigate all of this? Well, one of the things that these companies could do, but they're actually pretty much refusing to do it, is to hire people that are out of work to train them, and past workers that they had. But they won't do it. Now, while that is a problem, the real issue here is that we have enough meat already processed and frozen to last America for a year. Yes, you heard me, for a year. So what's wrong with this picture? Well, I'll tell you what's wrong. Some members of the American public are so worried about me. Worry about me, not anyone else. So what they're going to do is they're going to try and panic buy, and they'll probably try to panic buy tons of meat. So they'll go in and they'll buy 150 or 200 pounds of meat from Walmart or Kroger's or some other Publix, and not worry about anyone else. And then if you get 4 or 5 people doing that, then that's where we get our shortage. So, you know, let's use some common sense here. Now, my neighbor and I, we do a lot of deer meat. And quite frankly, I've got a half freezer full of deer meat. And over time, I picked up what I could and what I couldn't. So, in the end, if you're smart in the long term, then there's going to be no problem in the far term. So, when you go to the store and you see the meat's a little low, maybe certain cuts, and that's what they're really saying, is that certain cuts will not be available. But, you know, I look at it this way. The processors are not doing what they should be doing. While it is possible for these processors to stay open, they may not be able to cut the exact cut you want. Maybe if they had just enough people to process only hamburger, that would mitigate the potential for a total food shortage. Still, there is no food shortage because we've got a year's worth. But even if there was a food shortage, they could take livestock and turn it into ground hamburger, turn it into the basic cuts, nothing fancy. That's just the way it, there is a ton of, let's go over to fresh fruits and vegetables. Hello, there's a ton of fresh fruit and vegetables out there. The problem is they aren't getting them picked because there's no migrant workers, and they say that Americans don't want to do that. Are you kidding me? You're telling me that with all the people out of work, that some people wouldn't want to go out into the fields and pick green beans, or go out into the orchards and pick apples or strawberries, or, anything because of that. It just doesn't make sense. Folks, if you're out of work, look for a farmer that has fresh foods. It may not be much money, but I guarantee you they will welcome the help. And that can help supplement. Now, with everything else going on, we need to look at these farmers that are killing their beef and hogs, and the farmers that are burying onions, just destroying their crop because they've got no way to get it to market or produce it. Listen, guys, don't, if you're a farmer, don't. Just get rid of it. Ask anyone around if they want it. It's still a write-off if you give it to a food pantry. Makes sense. Now, another thing that a lot of people are talking about is, well, why don't they butcher the cows in small butcher shops? Unfortunately, the small butcher shop and the small processing plants, because of COVID-19, are booked out for months. And when I say months, local to me here around Macon, Illinois, everyone's saying the soonest is July or August because they've got so many. I guarantee you those small processors are wide open. I talked to a meat and poultry inspector for the FDA that I know, or not the FDA, Illinois State, and he said that they're working 6 days a week, 10 to 18 hours a day. Just crazy. So, perhaps if you've ever butchered anything before, perhaps you could purchase a hog or a cow or something else that's ready for market and butcher it yourself. That takes a special skill or someone with special knowledge normally. But, we've got plenty of food. We just need to get it processed. There's plenty of food in the freezer. They just need to get it down the road. Truck drivers are doing everything they can. So when the media tells you that there's a shortage, there is not. Furthermore, if things got really bad, there would be more Defense Production Act enacted, and we'd make sure we had food. Now think about this. And here's the real funny part. See any shortage of canned goods at the store? No. See any shortages of anything but fresh stuff? No. You can even buy canned meat most of the time. So, if worse came to worse, we could become vegetarian for a little bit. Not saying that a meat eater like me would like that, but, if that's what it takes to survive, we're going to have to do what it is. But in actuality, there is not a food shortage. There is a shortage of processors and pickers. So, don't worry. If you want to stockpile the canned goods. You can never go wrong with canned goods because, they're going to last a long time and you'll use them. And if worse came to worse, I can live off green beans or pork and beans or something like that. Make sure to ask any questions. I am more than willing to talk about it. Shoot, if you want to discuss it, let's discuss it. If you have a good argument, I may even have you as a guest on this channel. So until next time, see everyone later. Please be safe, use common sense, and make sure you don't get infected with COVID-19. Thanks so much. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye. Don't forget to get your copy of the Doctor of Disasters book, Emergency Incident Management Systems, at Amazon.com. This book is the go-to on managing disasters and on the Instant Command System. The Doctor of Disaster is a wholly owned subsidiary of Warnick and Associates Incorporated.